Well, for a closer look at the Singles Day shopping phenomenon, let's bring in Ming Fan from Seattle. He's a faculty director of the Master of Science in Information Systems program at the University of Washington. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So looking back at the size and scope of Singles Day when it first began in 2009 versus present day, what would you say have been the most significant developments?
Yeah, first of all, the number was amazing. Another record-breaking year, another record-breaking day. You announced earlier the total number of sales were more than $38 billion, 26% increase over last year. So number was really, really good. But in addition, before the event, I think the event has become very mature. So momentum was building before the event, and the night before the November 11th, Taylor Swift kicked off the event with a live concert in Shanghai, and hundreds of programmers, system engineers were camping in the company's headquarters to make sure the system was running smoothly. So I think with this the 11th Singles Day, I think definitely the platform, the sellers, they're more prepared.
And so
they're ready.
And so how would you say foreign brands did compared to, say, domestic brands on Singles Day?
We haven't seen the final numbers yet, but I have friends in China, and I do research in e-commerce in China. The Chinese consumers, they love actually foreign brands. To talk about actually the brands in the U.S., the brands in my home state, Washington, Starbucks and Costco, they have a huge number of loyal Chinese customers. And I think these brands are doing very well, and also Nike. Many American brands are doing well. I've seen, I did see a little bit of statistics. Seems Japan and the U.S. These are the two countries ranked number 1 and 2 in terms of the countries selling to Chinese consumers on the Singles Day.
And we really have seen this event just grow in strides every year. And though we did see a slight slowdown, and they were perhaps channeling this up to the China-US trade war as slowing growth slightly this year to 25%. What should we read into that?
I think actually if you look at the growth, when the volume is so large, 26% is a good number, is a good growth rate. In terms of the trade war, I think in the short term, it may have some negative impacts, but I'm optimistic. I think in the long run, the Chinese consumers, they will not hesitate to buy more American goods. And I think in the long run, I think these single days will keep doing well, just like what's happening yesterday.
And speaking of them doing well, what sort of international markets do you see Singles Day either expanding into or entering into as we continue to see it grow? Yeah,
actually, in your show, earlier, I think e-commerce, the Chinese e-commerce platforms are doing well in other Asian countries. But I think over the years, they may pick some steam in the U.S. market as well. So this year, I had some observations. Looks like there are the websites are more ready for the American consumers. There are specific discounts and promotions targeted toward consumers in the U.S. And they also have different merchandise. I think they've done the data analytics and prepared these goods that would do well for American customers. So I think in the future, maybe it's I think in North America, in the U.S., potentially Alibaba, potentially Taobao can expand.
And as Singles Day does continue to expand globally, how are regulations on this sector, the e-commerce sector, keeping pace with the developments? For example, things like privacy, mobile payments, counterfeiting, even waste from packing materials.
Yeah, I think this is a very, very interesting question. You know, as we know, privacy has been one of the most important issues across the globe. You know, especially in EU, they passed the GDPR. I think they pose a lot of challenges for the Chinese companies to do business globally. But I'm confident. I think the Chinese companies, they were definitely compliant. But at the same time, I think with GDPR, with the regulation on privacy, potentially that could have some impacts on the type of data, the amount of data these e-commerce companies, they can collect. So I think there's a trade-off. You know, with privacy, definitely the companies will face challenges in collecting the data and use the data to target the consumers. You know, so I think the government, you know, and the consumers, they have to make a decision. What is the best way to move forward?
Right, thank you so much. We'll have to leave it there. Ming Fan there, Faculty Director of the Master of Science in Information Systems Program at the University of Washington.